Yes, guilty movie pleasure fans. Guillermo del Toro did it in 2013, but Hollywood tried to do it again this weekend. And so today on Guilty Movie Pleasures, we are canceling the apocalypse again with Pacific Rim Uprising.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies. And now, here's Popcorn Talk's Guilty Movie Pleasure.
Get the plasma cannon! Get the swords! Oh, Jaeger! I'm Charlie Day! I yell a lot! That's the movie. All right, thanks, guys. Thanks for tuning in.
Next week.
See you next week.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram.
Yeah. Hey, Guilty Movie Pleasure fans. Thanks for joining us this week. We're doing something new. We've never done this before. Usually we talk
Podcast.
about we've never done a podcast. No, we've never done it this way, where we are taking a movie that's in theaters that is definitely a guilty movie pleasure, from a movie that we have talked about. Because normally we just do the first one, like, hey, Pacific Rim. But Cameron, when he was on the show, he and I did Pacific Rim before. So rather than...
Today is not normal.
Today is not normal.
No, we're
going to see how it works. I'm your host, Ben Begley. You can find me at the Ben Begley on Twitter and Instagram, all that good stuff. And with me, as always, is Jesse McIntosh.
Yes, sir. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Too Much Jesse.
I like how excited you got there. Yes, sir.
I was very formal as well.
We got very formal there to get with the informal nature of this. Because usually our show, if you haven't tuned in before, we talk about a movie that's been released, been out for a while. We play a bunch of sound clips. We riff on it. We... lovingly jab at it. Sometimes if we didn't like the movie, we not so lovingly jab at it. But we try and celebrate guilty movie pleasures here. That's the goal. We're not here to shit on stuff. We're trying to celebrate. Who knows?
Do all my shitting in the morning.
You do all of it in the morning.
I want you guys to know that.
You have that cup of coffee and you
This is an afternoon show. I don't have any left.
So, Pacific Rim Uprising came out this weekend, so we will try and talk spoiler-free for the first section. And then we will warn you to the best, but sometimes my brain doesn't work and I might spoil something. So just to be safe, if you don't want spoilers, maybe watch it after you've seen the movie.
Yeah, go watch the movie first.
Spoiler alert!
But I promise to do my best until the after the first few minutes to do spoilers.
And you know what, Ben? That's all we can ask of you.
That's all we can ask.
Is for you to do your best.
Because I don't know if you know this, Jesse, but the first Pacific Rim is one of my favorite monster. I love. I love the concept of Japanese Godzilla movies and things like that. I just always found the guys in suits to be kind of hokey and ridiculous. And so when this came out and it was a full-on big-budget CGI monsters and robots, I was like, this is awesome! And I saw it in IMAX 3D, and I remember leaving like, oh, when he did the thing with the, oh my god, that was so cool! And I've seen it like 2 or 3 times. I rewatched it again last night just to bring it back. And this movie, the first Pacific Rim, is awesome. It has its faults. It's not perfect. Charlie Hunnam is kind of a boring lead, and there's some issues with it, with the pacing. But man, when they do have the monster fights in the first one, they are insane, and they're super beautiful and colorful. And Guillermo del Toro is a rock star director, so it's very oddball. There's this character named Hannibal Chow, which is played by Ron Perlman, and he says he took his favorite person in history mixed with his favorite Chinese restaurant in Brooklyn or something like that, and that's how he came up with his name, and he's awesome. And Charlie Day, and I forget the other scientist's name, well, it's not on the back here, are great. Rinko Kikuchi's in the first one, and she's a badass, and so there's a lot of great things about the first one. So
Idris Elba?
Idris Elba's amazing. Idris Elba's always awesome. Charlie Day's really funny in it. So I'm going to try, just for your sake, Jesse.
Yes.
Can we do 90 seconds on the clock? I'm going to try and do the first movie in 90 seconds.
I'm going to sit this one out.
Just because, Jesse, you've never seen the first.
I haven't seen it. Listen, I hear good things.
Yes. So you've heard...
as we discussed beforehand.
So somehow I conned you into paying to see a movie in theaters.
Yes.
That you've never seen the first one for.
Yes. I do. I will say, every time I watch a movie at home, I go to the theater and buy concessions and go back to my home and watch it. Just to support.
You buy concessions, then you watch a bootleg rip of it with with Chinese subtitles.
Yes, absolutely. I will say, I saw this movie with Korean subtitles, which was interesting. I saw it in Koreatown.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, at the theater, I hear that they have a theater there that like opens up and it has 2 other screens, so it's like super wide.
Oh, I was not in that theater.
I've wanted to go check that out because I hear it's bananas.
But that's fascinating. No, I was just in. It was on like 6th and Western.
Was it cheaper there?
Yeah.
How much was it?
They had a Tuesday special.
Was it like $3 or something?
No, it was $8.
$8. There you go. Not bad. I saw an IMAX 3D because I'm a nerd and had to see it that way. But in 90 seconds, let's do this. So I'm going to try and give you the 90-second rundown of the first Pacific Rim. In 3, 2, 1. So we start off with this big backstory that we thought that the monsters were going to come from above, but they're actually going to come from below, and we find out that there's this rift in the bottom of the ocean near the Pacific Rim, that is ripping open, and these kaiju are coming out, and so what humanity does is they build these things called Jaegers, which are these giant robots to fight. They build monsters to fight monsters. Boom, boom, boom. Charlie Hunnam and his brother are in the beginning, and they're going to go fight a monster. His brother gets ripped out of it and killed. Charlie Hunnam's like, screw this, I'm done. He goes off and they start building a wall to keep them out, which is super topical now. They build a wall to keep the monsters out. Turns out that wall doesn't work. Monsters break right through, break right through the wall, and then they're like, oh my god, the government's trying to decommission the Jaeger program. Idris Elba is like, this is our only line of defense. They go to the last Jaeger station in Hong Kong, and that's where they get another event where these kaiju, where we meet Rinko Kikuchi's character, and she's kind of the adopted daughter of Idris Elba, who saved her from when her parents and everybody got killed in a giant kaiju attack. And then we have all these the Russians and all these other characters that are sort of introduced but then get killed off pretty quickly. There's a kaiju event that happens, and then it lets off an EMP that kills the other Jaegers after it ripped apart 2 of them. But then Gypsy Danger, who's Charlie Hunnam's Jaeger, comes out and wrecks it. There's this badass fight in Tokyo, boom, 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 and then there's they go and they're gonna try and seal the rift, and they do, and they ride the Jaeger, and they find out from drifting with the Jaeger with Charlie Hunnam, and then they blow it up, and then they're all in the ocean. 90 seconds is not enough time.
That's a short amount of time. I don't know why you did half.
I don't know why I did that.
Just because only one of us was doing it.
I don't know why I did that.
There was less to say. I don't know why I did that. It's still a full-length movie.
So I didn't get to where what happens is Charlie Day's character drifts. What the drift is set up. In fact, we have a sound clip explaining the drift. Can we play that? Did we get that yet? Oh, okay. If you don't have it yet, just I'll keep rolling. Wait, we have it. We have it. Drift exposition.
The drift. Jaeger tech, based on DARPA jet fighter neural systems. 2 pilots mind melding through memories with the body of a giant machine. The deeper the bond, the better you fight.
Okay, so what it is these machines are so big that you actually have to have 2 people to operate the left and right hemisphere of the brain of the robot, of the Jaeger.
Right.
And they kind of sum that up in the second one.
Yes.
So basically, you're in the first one they established that you have to be like family or a close bond, but then Charlie Hunnam and Rinko Kikuchi's character, and if I'm saying her name wrong, please forgive me. I don't think I am, but I'm a white guy from Ohio. Anyways, so they get a bond and they're able to be drift compatible, but the memories they go through are like deep, dark memories, and like shit comes up, you know?
Sure.
And so it can throw things off. But long story short, Charlie Day drifts with a kaiju brain and finds out that there's these host aliens that are cloning these kaiju and are sending them to Earth to try and wipe it out and kill us. And here's the actually dino history. Let's play this. This is just setting up the second one, which the second one kind of forgets a lot of it, but let's just set it up anyway.
These beings, these masters, they're colonists. They overtake worlds. They just consume them, and then they move on to the next. And they've been here before in sort of a trial run. It was the dinosaurs.
It's a cool concept,
but the atmosphere wasn't conducive, right? So they waited it out, and they waited it out. And now, you know, with ozone depletion and carbon monoxide polluted waters, well, we practically terraformed it for them. Because now they're coming back. It's perfect. See, the first wave, that was just the hounds. Categories 1 through 4, it was nothing. Their sole purpose was to aim for the populated areas and take out the vermin, us. The second wave, that is the exterminators, and they will finish the job. And then, the new tenants will take possession.
Awesome.
So that was right after he ran, I'm assuming, a marathon?
He's just, what happened is he's just gotten like his brain melted by trying to drift with a kaiju brain, which is too much.
Yeah.
And his eye gets all like bloodshot and red, and then he's bleeding out his nose. And then his science partner the goofy British guy, I forget his name, who's like, let's do this thing, you know, we're gonna do this together. They drift together and find out that the only way to close the wormhole that's basically letting these monsters out, the bridge, is that it scans the kaiju like a barcode when they go down. And so Gypsy Danger rides it, like kills one of them and rides it down into it, and then they escape in their escape pod through the bridge and blow it up. And you think that they're dead, but they're not, because they come back in Pacific Rim Uprising.
Yeah.
So now that you know all that, and I took up 10 minutes of our show just rambling, and I'm really tired of hearing myself talk.
Yep.
Does that help you with the movie you saw at all? What was your takeaway from Pacific Rim Uprising, having not known anything about the first one?
So just my thoughts on the movie?
Generally, no spoilers yet.
Yeah. Generally, I thought it missed a little bit. I thought it was a sequel. You know what I mean? Like
it was a sequel.
They had people who, I guess, like the holdovers from the first one were people who, I guess, like were into doing a second one, but like the people who weren't clearly weren't, and there were gaps.
I think Charlie Hunnam had scheduling issues. That's why he couldn't do it. But I didn't miss him because I think he's a fine actor on Sons of Anarchy and things, but he was boring, and that's one of the faults of the first movie. Is Charlie Hunnam's just such a bland lead character, and I think that John Boyega is a better lead in this.
This is interesting because John Boyega, to me, did his best to be charming. Yeah. And so many of his jokes were just like, wah, wah,
so many of them, and I've watched so many reviews on it that comment too, where so many of his jokes are like, look at this sexy face. Check out how, you know, and then, or saying how Scott Eastwood, I mean, he is sexy. Look how chiseled he is.
Right.
Like so many scenes end with him, and somebody else, I forget what other reviewer pointed this out, but most of these are to a 15-year-old girl that he's saying all this to, which makes it even weirder, where it's like, check out how sexy I am. Check out how sexy he is. All right, 15-year-old.
Well, yeah, like the whole thing was weird, and it was clear they were trying to do a like sharp talking like action hero, but it didn't quite fit. And it was just like,
I think he's great. His dialogue was terrible.
Sure, yeah, but the calibration of like fitting into the rest of the movie, it was a weird fit, and it missed.
What do you think of the action in it, like the Jaeger fights and things like that?
There were a couple of, I thought, cool moments, like when they went. Now, are we spoiling? Like
the fights you see in the trailer.
Yeah,
so it's
like the fight in Siberia was cool.
Yeah.
And when he like punched all the way through him, that was cool.
It's rad. I actually said in the middle of the theater, we'll just all right, screw it. We're in spoiler territory. Spoilers. Yeah. Spoilers. It's hard to talk about it without spoiling. So hopefully you've seen it already.
Spoiler alert.
Here's the other thing. You know what? Maybe what we should do real quick is just play the trailer for the new one and talk over it.
Okay.
And because we can't play it without getting a copyright strike, we're gonna play the trailer for the new one. This is a whole different show. We're trying to figure out if this even works. If not, we'll go back to what we're thinking is like once every couple months we'll do something that's in theaters just to kind of get something super relevant and talking about something brand new for the hell of it. So let's see. Here we go. All right. Like, so all this looks awesome, right? When you're watching the trailer, oh shit. Okay, here we got.
So jail. This is a movie about jail.
We got kids that are rough and tough. They're from the wrong side of the tracks. Yeah. Oh wait, Idris Elba, you had a son? How come you were so attached to your adopted daughter in the first one and never mentioned your biological son? That's weird.
Well, he didn't want to have anything to do with it. That's what he says.
Yeah, we're retcon. That's a huge retcon for this movie.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. You're like, cool. Skeleton of a dinosaur. Young girl that I thought she was great. I think the young girl in this movie is going to be a star. She's awesome in this.
She was good.
And the scrapper that the little Jaeger she builds herself is awesome. Scrapper is what they call it.
Yep.
And then you're like, oh Kaiju. Guess what? Spoiler. That's the last 10 minutes of the movie that Kaiju actually come out. So that's a huge bummer. This shot, awesome. Like, I mean, come on, there's this drone stuff going on. You're like, oh man,
there's a lot of shots of John Boyega just like staring in this trailer.
Oh, this definitely not one of ours. This section, they give away. This is another thing why we're showing you the trailer is if you've seen this trailer, you've seen the entire film.
Yeah. So that was a cool fight.
That fight was amazing.
Yeah.
So there's a fight in Siberia. I just want to give a context. That's the Siberia fight you just witnessed. This stuff's awesome. They get a gravity propulsion gun that he pulls, and he's like pulling buildings down on a kaiju later. Scott Eastwood just wears tight t-shirts the whole time.
Destroying the whole city.
Scott Eastwood destroys every scene he's in with his terrible acting. The apple fell way far from the tree with that guy. And, you know, so they build up like, oh man, 3 kaiju, which we'll get to. It's like, yeah, and you get this like epic speech like, we're pilots, do you understand? You're like, oh shit, we're getting the Idris Elba speech again. We got 4 Jaegers facing off. This is gonna be amazing, right? Yeah! Again, all of this that you're witnessing right here is the last maybe 20 minutes of the movie, maybe. And not saying it isn't cool stuff, but you come to a Pacific Rim movie to see kaiju and Jaeger fights, and you get basically Jaeger on Jaeger action, which we'll get into, which is still fun. This part was so, I actually went, there was a few times in the theater I was sitting by myself, because I like to do that, and I actually was like, that was rad, like to myself.
I like the idea that you were there with people, but you chose to sit by yourself.
Yeah,
like, I gotta peel off, guys.
So I know we annoyingly talked over that entire thing, but there is a thing where they, cancel. Okay. There's a thing where we'll get a, Steve's like, yo dude, I know how to do this show, right?
I'm staring at the computer, guys.
Yeah, guys, I got this. So we just kind of gave you a sort of summary of what the movie is in a weird spastic like, hey, look at this thing, and then this thing.
Yeah.
So we're gonna try and do the plot in under 3 minutes right now.
I bet that was fascinating for people who are just listening. That was like 3 minutes of us just being
this
like,
is gonna be a miserable just listen podcast. Yeah, good point. Can we do the plot in under 3 minutes? Yeah, no worries. So,
we're asking a lot of you to do
for what I thought about this, just because you said you thought it missed the mark a few times, I thought it was a decent sequel to Pacific Rim without Guillermo del Toro on board. If Guillermo del Toro had made this, I would have been like, screw this movie. Guillermo del Toro can't figure out how to make a story. Because this is not at the level of Guillermo del Toro's filmmaking.
Yeah.
It is not at all. So I went into the movie already, when I knew he had stepped down to focus on Shape of Water, I was like, okay, expectations lowered. When I saw the reviews, I was like, okay, lowered.
Yeah.
When my buddy texted me and said, you'd have more fun turning to the audience member next to you and just go, pew, pew, bang, bang, pew, pew. I was like, wow, expectations super low.
Sure.
And I had a lot of fun with the movie, but my biggest gripe is, I don't have as much of a problem with some of the things that other reviewers have said with like that it's too little kid or like young kid oriented. It's very geared towards kids, this movie. The first one's a more serious apocalyptic war movie kind of. I didn't mind that as much. What I minded was that the kaiju didn't show up till the last battle, till the last act. Like we don't even get a hint of kaiju really.
Right.
And that was what I was, when it finally happened, I was like, yeah, and we'll get into the specifics of the final battle and what really bummed me out. But first, so all in all, I had fun. It's a decent follow-up. I don't think it's a waste of time, but I think that super fans of the first one are gonna be disappointed.
Yeah,
I still had fun though.
There were a lot of like, and this, you know, this is bound to happen, but there were just a lot of like, wait, what moments?
They're trying to, it's almost like they're trying to reboot it and sequel it at the same time.
Right. And so the names of the robots were what? Sorry.
Now it's Gypsy Avenger.
Yeah.
There was, I don't remember anymore.
All right, that's okay. But
Sword
like,
one, Whip one, and then.
But what are the robots called? They're called
Jaegers.
Jaegers, yeah.
Yes.
So they set it up, and
first time I've liked Jaeger since college. Am I right?
Hey!
Jägermeister's so gross.
That you could call that a Jaeger
Steve's
shot.
like, please stop talking.
Yeah.
Just do the 3 minutes.
No, but so the only thing I'll say, and then we can start the 3 minutes, is that like they set it up in the beginning, like there's a black market for Jaegers.
Yeah.
And then we only see one black market Jaeger. And it's like, okay, so then if this is the movie where like we have rogue Jaegers, then let's fucking see some rogue Jaegers.
Which they do, sort of.
Only kind of. Like they do drones. But
and they do the one rogue Jaeger, which comes and fights twice.
Yeah.
Which those scenes are awesome.
Right, but like they're like corporate rogue Jaegers, right?
It's like they were like, ooh, if we do too much of that, then it's too Transformers. So it's like they couldn't figure. Let's do the plot in under 3 minutes because I'm gonna dive deep into this.
All right.
Are we ready? Steve's like, yes, for the love of God. Okay, so we start off with this big exposition thing, basically summing up the first movie. John Boyega is the son of Idris Elba, who he gave a fuck all about in the first movie. And then he's not his father. He doesn't want to do this. He's getting Jaeger scraps and selling them on the black market. He's going with these gangster guys in the scrapyard. He's trying to find stuff, and he finds out that the power cord of the one is taken. So he has a scanner. He's following it, and he finds out it's this young girl.
And he follows her to her home, and she's made a Jaeger. But then the police followed him.
Scrapper, this tiny one.
Yeah, then the police followed him, so then they ride
and the
Jaeger.
Gypsy Avenger,
Yeah, so then... And
there's this awesome sequence where they're trying to escape this big-ass Jaeger in this tiny one, and they're trying to outsmart it and escape, and they almost get away, and it's I thought it was a cool sequence. And then they get caught, and then, of course, like in typical sequel fashion, it's like, we're going to recruit you now. You're criminals, but we're going to recruit you because we need you.
So they get sent to the army base, I
sure.
guess?
Yeah, Jaeger base.
And so she's going to be, she's training to be a pilot. She can't do it. It's tough on her, and they're like, just try.
It's tough on her the first time she
ever tries it, and they're like, you're not a natural. Get the fuck out of here. And then he is training to be a trainer, or he is a trainer, I guess.
He used to, I guess. They say that he used to be a cadet.
A pilot?
A person, yeah. And he's like, no, I didn't want to do that. And Scott Eastwood's like, you were great. You got to come back. And they got like a little bromance going on.
First, Scott Eastwood's like, I hate you. And then he's like, we should work together.
Because John Boyega's like, I'll just nod and smile. And he's like, my kind of partner. Yeah. And so then they set up all this stuff where you're like, oh, we're going to have this summit where this company is going to do drone Jaegers, so that you can fly it from afar and not. And so it has. Then you're like, ooh, are we going to get like some drone warfare like metaphors going on? And then Rogue Jaeger comes and attacks and tries to kill them and kills Rinko Kikuchi's character Mako from the first one, which sucks because she's awesome and she's in the movie for like 3 minutes. And then that's what brings John Boyega back into it when his half sister gets killed, and they wreck each other. And then the other Jaeger disappears, and then they start trying to figure out what's going on.
They track it to Siberia.
And they take
a Jaeger to Siberia and try and figure out what this energy thing is.
Other Jaeger comes in. It's an awesome fight in Siberia where he goes under the ice and like they fight as they're falling. It's super badass.
And then is that when all the drones come in and the drones start bombing the
they're gonna do a drone display, and then what the drones end up doing is you realize the drones are part kaiju, and they start breaking open the Pacific Rim again, and they end up sabotaging all the drones so that they self-destruct, and then the kaiju still 3 of them break out, so they send all the Jaegers, the 4 Jaegers left in existence apparently,
I guess,
to go fight these 3 kaiju, and the kaiju, you're like, fuck yeah, 3 kaiju versus 4 Jaegers. It happens for about 90 seconds.
And there's only one.
And then they form into one somehow with these weird little creatures.
Don't know.
And then all the Jaegers except Gypsy Avenger gets killed. Then Scrapper comes in, they attach it to a rocket, they fly up in the air, and you find out the Jaegers the Mount Fuji boom explosion.
Nice.
Sure.
Nice.
Okay, I sort of got it.
Yeah.
So here we go. So here's the frustrating thing. I like how it started. I was like, oh cool. I'm fine with you introducing a son that Idris Elba sort of.
Yeah.
Like they could have introduced it like, hey, I didn't know he was my father. My mom didn't want me to join the army.
Right.
So she never told me.
Right.
They never say who John Boyega's mom is.
Doesn't matter.
They give 0 fucks.
Yeah.
They never connect like why he never mentioned him in the first one.
Nope.
I'm just gonna talk the entire rest of the show like this.
As you should.
Like, like I'm just like a shelf.
It's like
all right.
Or it could be like
Wilson.
two swans.
2 swans. There we go. Just
yeah, it was a weird introduction for him. It was weird.
And you think you're gonna follow him, but then it goes and starts following these young kids, and then it kind of bails on that. It doesn't. Here's my thing. This movie's better at being a Power Ranger movie than the new Power Ranger movie was.
Shots.
Because they actually get into fighting and they show them in the Zords, if you want to call them, sooner. So it's more a Power Ranger movie to me than the Power Rangers was. Because the Power Rangers, if you saw that movie, it took, spoiler, it took 90 minutes to get to them in their suits. The whole movie is them learning what it means to be a ranger.
Right.
And it's like, and then you get a 10-minute battle. This at least had steady action and good pacing.
I get, okay.
But it's not a Power Ranger movie, it's a Pacific Rim movie.
But look, okay. So
and it's a more coherent Transformers movie than a Transformers movie.
Sure.
But that's a low bar to clear.
And it's also not a Transformers movie, right?
Not. It's
so,
I feel like your head's gonna explode.
Well,
this movie killed you.
No, it didn't. It didn't. It was fine. But like, okay. So I already said like, why don't we see more like bootleg Jaegers?
Yeah.
Right. We should see those just out and about.
Yeah. Like a whole black market where like you're getting served by a bootleg Jaeger, or like a club where there's bootleg Jaeger bodyguards
Right.
or whatever.
Right.
Or a battle going on where they have to stop some black market Jaegers.
Because look, if a 15-year-old girl can go in and steal this item
and build
then like professional fucking criminals could have done it 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like this whole junkyard is for dismantling
Jaegers,
the Jaegers. And it's completely like
no security.
There's no security.
Nope.
It's just like they're there and you can mine it for whatever you need. And there's that one car that's driving around, I guess. But it's an enormous junkyard. Yeah, kind of.
Whatever.
So like already I'm like, okay, all right. So I guess we're just going to make it easy to like funnel everything to where we need it to be. Fine. Whatever. Right?
Yeah.
Then they go to the training center, and apparently these cadets are the only fucking pilots left in the world.
They kind of say that there's other bases, but we never see the other bases.
Where are they? Why aren't they helping?
We never see the other bases.
It's the Pacific Rim. Why aren't they by the Pacific Rim then?
You would think that like if it's known that these kaiju come out of one specific place, you'd all just be like, yep. Because that's something that a lot of people have been griping about is they don't establish if the threat is real anymore or if people are like, yeah, we're just gonna keep keeping the Jaegers around because it's cool.
Because why not?
I mean, we
just
built these big fucking things. They're awesome.
Her thing was just in case. But like even...
But I liked her thing. And they started to dabble in like some kind of like I need this to defend myself.
Right.
And you're like, oh, are they gonna get into some kind of like edgy territory here with like citizens arming themselves? And then it's like no, none of that.
No, we're not. Nope. But like even if there are no other bases, like where are the other pilots on this base? You only have cadets. You don't have real pilots.
And a whole shitload of maintenance staff.
Just other people, like thousands of other people doing what?
But the same thing in the first one though. When Idris Elba gives his whole canceling the apocalypse speech, it's like 10 pilots and then like a bunch of people in just like workman clothing. Like it just takes 5,000 people to maintenance these things, like, and then there's only like 12 people that can fly.
How hard is they can even be extras to have pilots, and then when the first attack happens, just kill the fucking pilots and be like, oh, we need the cadets. But no one there were no professional people there.
I think that's because like they all like were like, fuck it, we don't need to anymore. It's no big deal. I don't know. They don't really clearly establish that.
Yeah, I mean, we have an army during peacetime. That's all I'm saying.
And then I liked that they started to dabble in like the thing that Age of Ultron did with like drones, and it's like, oh, okay, so like this other company is trying to say, look, we have Jaeger tech that's completely unmanned.
Yes.
It's going to police cities, the world. It's now they're like, we can use Jaeger tech for just world security as well. And you're like, oh, this is interesting. Like now, are we going to get into a movie where we realize the dangers of the monsters we created? Which we kind of do.
Right.
But that's a big letdown, because what ends up, so there's this awesome sequence, which I think we have a clip from it. Do we have the clip where they attack in Sydney or no? I can't remember. The video clip of Sydney attack? No. Let's see if there's... No worries. I mean, it's fine. We know,
It's fine.
People can look it up online. But the Sydney attack is awesome. Like when Gypsy Avenger is there just to like be security and look badass, and they're gonna do this summit about the drones and get it voted in, and then they do a kind of bait and switch where this rogue Jaeger comes and attacks, and you think for sure it's the head of the company. You're like, she totally, and even in the trailers they show like the slow motion shot of her, and you're like, that's the one. And in the theater it's like, fuck you, she's totally the one. And then they do a switch, which this is a huge spoiler, so if you don't want to hear this, shut it off now till you see the movie, because this is the only surprise left in the movie from the trailer. Is that Charlie Day, it turns out... Tell him, because I'm talking too much.
He's, he's like drifting. He's drifting with a kaiju brain. And
the kaiju brain from the first one in his apartment.
Yeah, and it is like
a weird,
in him.
Like a weird Demolition Man VR sex scene.
Yeah, that was a fucking weird scene.
Tell him, just to explain that, because I've talked too much.
He comes home and he's in his apartment and he's like telling, you would presume, his wife or his girlfriend about his day.
I'm home, Alice.
Yeah, and he just like is complaining about his day and he's going off about it, and he's like putting his stuff down. He grabs wine, I think. He like makes it all like...
You think you're like, ooh, dinner and like a movie.
Yeah.
Maybe Netflix and chill. Oh!
He like takes it into the bedroom and he's like, all right, enough about my day. How about your day? And he puts on the drifting helmet and then it pans over and we see a brain in just like a
He makes a little
container.
orgasmic noises too, if
Yeah,
I remember
and
right.
he,
It's
like-
a little like
yeah, he like reclines into his chair and is like, ugh.
So you don't know the extent of it then. You're just like, oh, maybe he's just into like
Maybe he's
kaiju porn.
weird. Yeah.
Because he was super obsessed. You didn't know this, but in the first one, he was like a nerd for kaiju. He has tattoos of him on his arms. He's a super huge kaiju nerd. But this takes. So then you're like, maybe he just has a kaiju fetish now. But then we find out the big twist
Yes.
that he's been kind of possessed by this kaiju brain and he's fighting it, but not winning.
Right.
He's losing.
Right. Well, and what I would also say is if someone is that obsessed with the enemy that they tattoo the enemy on themselves, maybe
Watch
like,
him a little closer.
Yeah, don't let him near the thing. Like, you never know what could happen.
Yeah, he was harmless though in the first one. He was so
Yeah,
harmless.
but if you're tattooed, like, you know, if I tattooed Putin's face on my arm and I was like, yeah, I'm just obsessed with him him.
I just
losing
like his workout
election or,
routine.
like whatever.
I like Putin's workout routine.
Yeah, you wouldn't be like nice. You be our Putin guy.
Yeah.
You'd be like, why don't you stay away from Putin?
Yeah, what sanctions do you think we should put on Putin, Jesse, with your Putin tattoo?
Yeah, probably none.
None,
He
bro.
should be free to do whatever the fuck he wants. Right? You wouldn't let that guy near him.
No, you're right. You're right.
So I had another thing, but I forget. So you go ahead.
Do we have the Sydney fight? Yes, that one. So let's show just a little bit of this. So this is when they show up in Sydney and start wrecking shit, and we're going to do a commentary as if we're like watching a boxing match.
Yes.
Ready? So we got swords.
so we have swords.
Sweet. We both got our laser swords going. Shit! He's got
his is on fire.
Oh man,
That's a bummer.
Why didn't we think to put two on
We
ours?
should have had
Yeah.
fire ones.
Come on. And then this is all fucking. And then you can see this all on YouTube. But this is all awesome. So you're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
There is a little bit of a lack of regard for people.
So, okay, this is what I was going to say.
People.
This is what I was going to say, is that Jaegers are as big as skyscrapers. There's no way.
Ah! Sorry, office workers. Hope none of you got killed by that.
Right, there's no way to let those loose in any city, even if they have the best of intentions, and not do something like
come
that.
on!
Right. He just destroyed 20 buildings.
He just killed 7,000 people with that sword thing. So the bad guy's the one with the flame swords, if you didn't know. And the rocket elbow's back, by the way, which was
Yes.
one of the most ridiculous things in the first one, where it super punches people with a jet-powered rocket elbow. This is a new weapon where they have a gravity stream.
Where they can destroy more property. Okay, we're on to a different
We're
one
now in Siberia. We'll keep playing it. But supposedly there are no cars, hopefully, because our heroes just lifted up a bunch of. I guess they knew in that moment they were all empty before they smashed them.
They went straight for the park
And
cars.
this is the second one where the other Jaeger shows up and they're fighting in Siberia. Again, you think you would have learned, put a second sword in between.
Sure.
And they're like, oh, here we go. We're going to charge. This is going to be so dope.
You want a fire sword in Siberia, I think.
Oh, cut. Oh, yeah. See, there you go. You go underneath because that guy wasn't expecting it. And this goes on for a while. I don't want to spoil it because you should actually see this on the big screen. So let's cut it now because on the big screen, I think those fights play really well. The one thing that this movie does, it's weird because the first one, when I saw it again, the first fight scenes are way more colorful and beautiful and badass. And Steve, if you can line up, there's a specific shot while I talk in the first fight scene, Gypsy Danger, yeah, that one where he whacks him with a Freightliner. It happens pretty close in the beginning where he's dragging a Freightliner and they smack him in the face with it. Yeah. Like, just back it up a little bit from there. I wanted to show that. Because this is an example where the first one, there's a little bit more artistry and a uniqueness, and the colors are beautiful and they pop. And let me know when we're playing it for them. Yeah. So but sometimes it gets chaotic with the atmosphere and it's a little hard to see. This one, I feel like the fights were a lot more, you could see everything, but see, watch this. So this, like, nothing in the second movie is as badass as a Jaeger dragging a fucking ship through the streets.
Sure.
And then facing off with a kaiju that's wrecking. Now, by the way, at this point, they've established that everybody's underground in these
Yeah, they
shelters.
did that again in the second one.
Yeah, they
which
did that.
Is like, all right.
They tried.
But they still ruin the fucking, like, it takes 15 seconds
Like,
to ruin an
come
entire
on!
city.
Like, nothing in the second, just fair warning, nothing in the second one is going to be as awesome as this moment here.
Right. This
where,
is a lot more atmospheric. The other, like, they clear out. The set pieces are clear in the other ones.
Yeah.
Like, this is smoky and dark.
Yeah, so that's what. So sometimes in the original, there we go. We can stop it there because it just I could watch it for hours. So the first one, it's more.
It doesn't go for hours. It's just
it's 4
a couple
minutes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I could watch it on repeat.
I got you.
But it's more dark and rainy, and the first one got some flack for some of it getting visually muddy. But I would take the visual muddiness with the style versus this one. I thought all the action was cool. It looked like a better filmed Transformers movie, is what it looked like.
Yeah.
With less of the Michael Bay cutting, but less of the style of Guillermo del Toro, is what I thought
Yeah.
it looked like. But you could see everything. Like, it wasn't like a normal action movie nowadays where I'm like, what's happening? My brain's melting. Everything was, and they slowed down. They did a lot of cool slow motion impact moments. Like, I remember when Gypsy Avenger uppercuts the rogue Jaeger and like shoots it up a building.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, those people are dead.
Yeah.
Again, those people are dead.
Right.
Unless they had time in the 10 seconds this fight.
It's almost like they're intentionally trying to destroy these buildings. The way they go after the buildings.
It is.
Like, no one is trying to miss the buildings.
No, it's amazing.
It's bananas.
So then there's a lot of stuff with the cadets that I actually liked. The cadets, I thought they were fun. They're completely underdeveloped. You don't really learn anything. You know, one is Russian Elizabeth Olsen, basically. She looks exactly like Elizabeth Olsen.
Yeah,
but
and she hates
everyone.
everyone.
Amara, I think, is the young girl's name.
That's the main girl's name.
I think the young actress who plays Amara is great. I think the cast, that's another thing. I feel like the acting is better overall in this one.
Oh, interesting.
The first one had better, like Idris Elba. The side characters were great in the first one, but the leads got a little rough sometimes. The two Australian guys in the first one were decent, but like got a little yelly. This one, I think the acting overall, and I know a few other reviewers have said similar, where the acting overall is a little better. Yeah, you could combine these two movies and make the perfect movie.
I thought the cadet stuff was like a total zero.
It doesn't, yeah.
It was like, she was, like you said, she was great. I thought the other cadets
don't do anything with
were
them.
not great. And yeah, they're, like you said, completely underdeveloped.
They don't show any training with them or anything.
Yeah, they're just playing out tropes.
Yeah.
And
they're there for the global market. Like, everybody is just from a different country.
Everyone represents something.
Which is fine. I love that. I love seeing representation, but actually develop the representation. Don't just be like, there's a guy from India. There you go, India. It's like, no, give him a story.
Right. It was like,
by the way,
they did a better job of this in the Cloverfield Paradox.
Yeah.
When, like, on the ship, it was a similar, like, rainbow of representation.
Absolutely.
But everyone had, like, you felt a little bit of truth to them.
This movie was more fun than Cloverfield Paradox.
I just mean with respect to, like, the ensemble, like, those specific ensembles.
Speaking of the cadets, though, way spoiler, let's fast forward to just while we're talking about them. And Steven, if we have a little bit more, Steve, let me know if we have a little bit more time. I can fudge a little. But there was... They don't set them up at all, really. And then there's the big battle, which we'll get to. But the Indian kid dies. He just gets killed, and then they don't mourn him, really. They don't really, like, say anything about it. Okay, perfect. They don't say anything really about it.
Right.
And you're kind of like, and I saw a few people on Twitter being like, cool, the kid from India gets murdered and nobody says anything. And I agree with that, where it's like no, if you're bringing in diversity in other countries and trying to be inclusive, then don't just haphazardly kill someone kind of off screen and then never reference it and then have everybody cheering at the end again like it's, and just boom, credits. Like, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Just have him alive. Have him just wounded.
Sure.
Why kill him?
Sure.
We haven't set them up enough to kill them.
I mean, or I would argue that, like, we've set them up
so little
so that we could kill them, but at least acknowledge it then. Like,
kill
at least
them all
something,
then,
right?
Or kill like a few more. Don't just single out one,
right?
And then everybody else survives, and you're like, wait, why'd you kill that one dude off?
Yeah.
Did he just have a scheduling conflict? And I'm like, shit, we need him for one more day. Kill him.
Yeah.
Like,
he was shooting Charlie Hunnam's movie, and he was like, I was able to fit this in, but I gotta go.
I gotta bounce.
I will say in the beginning, shout out to Crappy Apartments.
Oh yeah, shout out.
I lived right around the corner from the Crappy Apartments for a while.
Oh really?
It's on Overland, right off the 10. Yeah.
Really? Was that John Boyega's play? Who's place?
Yeah, they like, there was in the beginning where he was like, it's better to live in a condemned half mansion than it is in Crappy Apartments, and they show it's literally called Crappy Apartments.
Yeah, I completely forgot that because you knew because you lived.
I knew because I lived right there.
But
it was a big part of my life.
Like, they established this bad boy thing with John Boyega, and the only thing Rinko Kikuchi's character Mako from the first one serves is to come in, be like, hey fans, remember me from the first one when you loved me and I was badass and super cool? Yeah, I'm just here to be a diplomat, and then get murdered in a helicopter. Right. And I was so mad in the theaters when that happened, because I was like, oh, he's gonna save her. He's gonna save her. And then when there's this dramatic scene, which is a cool shot, where he's reaching to get her in the Jaeger, and the fingers graze it and sparks fly, and then the helicopter tumbles and blows up and she's gone. And you're like, no!
The moment she started sending that email,
you're
like, oh, she's dying.
I kept, though, in my nerd brain being like, fuck you, you're not going to do that. Don't do that. Yeah. Don't do that. Don't do that.
It would be funny if they had her email and then she was saved and then she was like, guys, forget the email. I said,
I can tell you everything.
Why was she holding on to that information
for so long?
Like, no one. It wasn't information where they were like, if I send this, it could someone will come find me and kill me. It was just information
about a power source somewhere in Siberia.
Probably everyone should have.
Yeah.
But she was just holding on to it for some reason.
So now let's get to, that really bummed me out, because her character, if you haven't seen the first one, which you haven't, she's awesome in it. She's badass. She's got vulnerability. I really loved her character, and I thought they already could have developed her even more in the first one, but I still loved her. And this one, they're just like, kill her, so that we can forward John Boyega. The thing that pissed me off the most, above the last battle, which we'll get, so what I want to cover is the drones and then the final battle. You think that's cool?
Let's do it.
In 7 minutes?
Let's
do it. So the drones come, they're going to do this big display of what the drones can do.
Yes.
And then they start freaking out.
Yes.
Tell them what happens, Jesse, because I'm tired of talking.
Well, they just start killing.
Why?
Because they have the like membranes, the like brainy stuff in them.
That's when we find out the big twist.
From the kaiju. Yeah.
That Charlie Day has snuck in kaiju brain,
right?
Because 38% of the company is automated, so he was able to get kaiju brain and kaiju parts into these drones, and so they start freaking out, and you think, oh shit, this is the perfect point to have some Jaegers fight some kaiju drones.
Yes.
Like I was like, oh, awesome. So the rift starts. They start opening the Pacific Rim. And all these kaiju start coming out. You're like, this is where it gets fucking sweet. I'm so excited. And then what happens is the head of the industries just triggers a self-destruct and blows them all up.
Yep.
And then they kind of fall and blow up the rest of the base except for the 4 Jaegers. And you're like, well, no. What? Were you thinking that too? Like, isn't that a perfect moment to have them fight to seal to at least send 1 or 2 Jaegers out?
Right.
To see to try and do something?
Right. The whole point of doing a sequel is to see different configurations of fights.
And bigger, right? and you usually go bigger and crazier.
Right. So
not go,
yeah,
forget it.
Right. So like smaller kaiju, right? That's what the drones would be. Like they're drone kaiju, so they're like miniature ones.
But the size of the Jaegers, you're like, cool.
You're able to have like a bunch of them.
Have 10 drone kaiju Jaegers fighting 1 Jaeger. That'd be awesome.
Right.
None of that happens.
Yeah.
Spoiler.
Right.
And then they all just blow up, and the Pacific Rim seals up. And so that immediate danger is gone.
Right.
That apocalyptic event. And then 3 of them are still loose in Tokyo. Right, they're in Tokyo, and we find out that they're going to Mount Fuji to blow that up because of the rare minerals. They just really rush through this.
They really yada.
There's rare minerals, and if there's a big atomic explosion there, it'll put a cloud over the Earth, and we'll all die, and then they can come and live here. It's really rushed. It's just like, we got to figure out how to get in the 3rd act.
Yeah.
So then again, I'm like, sweet. All right, they screwed up the drones. They didn't fight there. But now we have 3 kaiju and 4 Jaeger.
Yes.
Sweet. Jesse, tell them what happens, because I can't go through it again.
Well, so they all attach to one another, and they all just make 1 kaiju.
There is some cool stuff before then.
Sure.
There's about 90 seconds of cool stuff. It's like 2 minutes.
It's very limited.
Because they start off, and the kaiju come in, and they're like wrecking things. You find out all the citizens are underneath. They establish that they're in the shelters. So you're like, cool, buildings being destroyed, fine, whatever. And the 4 Jaegers show up like in the preview. They have their cool moments. They open up a can of whoop ass for a really short period of time. The kaiju seem really weak sauce because they knock them over pretty easy.
Well, yeah, and they're also like not there to fight, right? The kaiju are there to get to Mount
Fuji, which they act like Mount Fuji is a half a block away.
Yeah.
Which, hey, actually, let's just show the first 90 seconds of this clip, because this will show you pretty much everything you see. This is what so they land. You're like, here we go, and then I guess that was a comedic moment where they slide and mess up.
I guess.
But they don't play it as a joke. and this says Spanish subtitles. So you're like, okay, here we go. This is what I've been waiting for. This is what I paid the money for. Here we go. 4 Jaegers, 3 Kaiju. This is gonna be epic. All right, quit talking. Who cares? Yeah, I got. Yeah, you die in about 10 seconds here, but we'll miss you. And then it's like, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Let's do this. Oh yeah. All right. Okay.
Epic music.
Yep. You're like, sweet. This dude's gonna wreck some things. Man, you could have missed the buildings.
That's what I'm saying. Like, they go out of their way to wreck these buildings.
And you're like, nice. Okay, I love having kind of a samurai, badass Jaeger. This is sweet. Oh, that kaiju went down real easy.
Pretty quickly.
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna keep running. Awesome. Awesome. I'm loving it so far. Ooh, yeah, that's what I came for. What? Okay. Okay, so
he's gonna explode the kaiju?
This kaiju's the tough one. Oh, he gives it back. Oh, shit.
So this was a little bit Black Panther-y, right? Where they
Yeah.
absorb the energy and they are able to give it back to them.
Again, you can see everything, though. The action is super clear, almost to a fault in a way. Like, it's so bright that there's not a ton of style. But I don't mind. I think it's fun. I can see everything. Oh, shit. Okay, this is the one kaiju that we're all going to have to team up on. Oh, I got tripped by the other Jaeger. That's a callback to the first one where the balls hit.
Yeah.
Anyways, there's like maybe we can cut it now. There's maybe 60 seconds more of fighting.
Yeah.
Before Charlie Day is freaking out with his iPad.
Right.
And Charlie Day's fine in this. He's fine with what he's given.
Yeah.
He's not given. I love Charlie Day.
Me too.
But then these weird like mite
They're
creatures.
like pods.
They don't
of some
really
sort.
explain it.
They never explain it.
And somehow they like come in and like weld the kaiju together perfectly to form a brand new seamless kaiju?
I guess.
So then again, I'm like,
what was the problem with having 3 kaiju?
I don't know.
It was just tougher to animate?
I think 3 kaiju, I was like, sweet. Now they're going to be like, so they're going to be getting attacked from all sides.
They should have been walking up the mountain in 3 different directions.
Yeah.
And seen what
happens.
Yeah, like
Let's roll the dice.
How can we figure this out?
Yeah. Instead, they just form one massive one, and then you're like, sweet, badass fight. And then it rips all 3 of the other Jaegers apart instantly.
Yes.
Like within seconds. So then you're like, okay, sweet. Gypsy Avenger's gonna fight. No.
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 It needed the scrapper to come through and attach a rocket to its hand so that it could go into the atmosphere.
I fucking hate this part
fall
so much.
back down onto the kaiju.
Like a giant asteroid.
Yeah, and explode both of them.
Again, kaiju, if you had 3 of you,
Right.
could have, one of you could have dodged it at least.
Yeah.
But when you're a massive kaiju and a thing is coming from space, it still could have dodged it.
Yes.
Like, it saw it going up. Those kaijus must be super dumb. And then it ends with the kaiju just kind of falling over unconscious. The first one gets like great kaiju gore where it's like blasting their stomachs open, ripping off the arms. There's the winged one gets cut in half in space in slow motion. None of that happens.
Yep.
It just basically falls over unconscious and you assume it's dead and then the credits roll.
No, it gets arrested.
They put it in kaiju
Yeah,
jail.
that's right.
So
Proper procedure.
I have several issues with this movie. I did have a fun time watching it. It was more after it, the more I thought about it, the more angry it made me.
Yeah.
I still had fun. I would love to know, we've run out of time. We've run out of time for this week. We got another show coming in here. I would love to know what you thought. If there's anybody out there that thinks it's better than the first one, I would love to know why. It'd be interesting, and I'd love to have a debate with you. Not an argument or a troll comment, but in a debate. I like doing that. And let us know if you saw Pacific Rim Uprising, what you thought of it, what you thought of our comments on it. Do you agree? If we just ruined the movie for you, are you still going to see it? And until next time, where can they see you, Jay? Or where can they find you?
You can see me here. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Too Much Jesse, and for sketch at The Prom Losers.
You can find me at the Ben Begley on Twitter and Instagram. At Parents vs. Baby is my wife and I's parenting comedy blog / podcast / sketches. So check out at Parents vs. Baby and parentsvsbaby.com. Until next time, we're gonna keep canceling the apocalypse. What is your guilty movie pleasure?
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Popcorn Talk Network or its owners or principals.